All right. Hey, everybody. Today we're going to be live coding out some components that's for the upcoming Tailwind UI e-commerce package. And so if you're interested in being notified when it's available, which should be pretty soon here, you can go to tailwindui.com/ecommerce and get signed up to be notified of any updates and get some behind the scenes on that. But today we're specifically building out one of the page examples for this e-commerce package. So I've been heads down for the past couple months building out tons and tons of components and pages and everything. And so today I thought it'd be fun to go through one of the category pages where you'll be able to view products and some filters for different products as one of the many steps of an e-commerce flow. So I thought we'd build that out today. Before we get started, just a couple notes. One is that these images are partnered with Ugmonk, which is a really cool company that makes high quality products. So they were kind enough to let us use their product images as examples in the whole e-commerce package. So if you see anything in the designs that we're building out that you like, feel free to check out ugmonk.com. They've been really generous in partnering with us for this. So just had to give them some shout outs for that. So to get building today, we have our Figma designs, and from here we'll be hopping into VS Code to build out this page example. Quick overview of some of the breakdown of components we're going to be building. We have a global navigation, this hero image and section up here. We have this kind of accordion menu on mobile, and then a simple product grid of options that you would be able to navigate into, and then a pretty clean footer as well. So some of these are already built from other pages, so I'll be bringing them over, and then most of the core content in the main section will build out live today. All right, so let's see, let me switch over to VS Code here. So I basically just have an empty page, and the first thing is that top navigation and the footer we can borrow from an existing page, so I'm not going to build those out in entirety today, but we'll focus our time on kind of the main content here. So this HTML file, there's some interesting tags. This is basically our internal system for building out templates and components. So if you see anything odd, just know that this script tag is for any data that we want to bind into our templates. And then we have a specific custom tags for internal components and things that we'll be using. So the first thing is we need to grab our top navigation. I'm going to copy this over real quick. So let's see, this would be Nav Bar and left links, search on desktop, I think is the one. So I'll get the preview showing in a second here. I'm basically going to grab all this data just to get started. And then we'll get into some more interesting building in just a second here. But we have to kind of scaffold out our page. And that's the benefit of working in a project with a lot of reuse, is you get to save some time on that. So we're going to grab our data. Sorry for all the scrolling. And then we're going to grab our actual nav bar itself, and I'll pull up the preview in a second here. Cool. So let's pull up our preview. And you can see we have tons of pages coming. So there'll be plenty of content coming your way. So we have this nav bar that is dropped in place from an existing component page. It has these nice flyout menus and search on desktop. And then if we open our responsive design tools, I have the Tailwind UI breakpoints, or Tailwind CSS breakpoints built into my responsive dev tools. But you can see that we have our mobile menu as well. So that's nice because we basically get to hone in on some of this main content here. While we're at it, let's quickly drop in the footer, and then we'll get on to building out some more bespoke content for this page. So back to VS Code. Let's see, we have our footer. I think this is the 4-column simple that we just built recently. Yeah, looks like that's the one. So again, grabbing some more data, and then we can get on to building some custom stuff for this page. Actually, since I'm already down here in the file, I might as well grab the actual markup real quick and drop that into place, and then grab our data. And then we'll be done scrolling so much here. Done with those files. And drop this data in real quick. Cool. Check our preview real quick just to make sure we're on track. Yep, our footer appears and it's stacked up right next to our header for right now, so that's fine. And now let's switch focus into basically stubbing out the actual content of this page. So breaking this down, I like to start with the data and then mark up and then layer in styles from there. And that way I know I have everything that I need to bind to the template ready to go. And I also start with semantic markup for accessibility, and I can just layer in styling from there. That way I'm not styling things and then trying to retrofit semantics or accessibility. So that's kind of my preferred workflow. So this first thing is I see this hero section will have an image and some basic copy. That could probably all be just coded straight into the template. This menu, however, I'd like to loop over an array of menu options. So let's get that stepped out real quick. So in my data here, let's create a new object called menu options. And this will actually just be an array. And inside of here, I'll have an object. I'm going to include IDs for these for our React templates, so they have a unique key that they can put on each item in the array. So let's see here. The title we'll grab from here in our Figma file. So we have all new arrivals. Let me see if I can grab all this text somehow. Probably not. So I'll just have to peek back here in a second. But we have all new arrivals in sale. And we also want to know in the menu if it's the current item. So let's have a Boolean property on here. For all, it's going to be false. And then these would be links in the final template. So I'll just put a empty anchor there for a second. So that's basically the shape of our data for menu item. And we're going to have quite a few. So let's get this going here. So the next was new arrivals. And this was going to be the current one on the page. So that'll be true. Then we had sale, shirts, denim. And let's get these stepped out as well. Make sure my IDs are updated as needed. So we have denim, outerwear, sweaters. So getting all your data set up ahead of time is really nice, because then as you build out your markup, you can just see all the content that you expect just right there in place. So we had sweaters and just a couple more, I believe. Swimwear, active, bags, and accessories. Okay. And two more. Bags and accessories. Okay. And this is all just placeholder copy for now. We're probably going to go through and unify a lot of the page examples with kind of fake brands so it feels more cohesive, but good to match our designs for now just so we can tell what's going on. Hey Robin, thanks for the claps. All right. Next up is our products. So we're going to have images, the title. We're going to have the rating that we're going to show, the review count, and then the price, which we can format if needed. I'm probably going to just do US dollars for this. Right now we have in some of our pages a locale and currency selector. But for today, I think I'm just going to assume it's just normal dollars, which we can always update if needed. So let's get the shape of our products going. And this will be what we display in that grid. So we have our products, another array full of objects. And again, we need our IDs. We're going to have the title. I think I put in some more final copy, at least for now, in one of these mockups. Let's see. Yeah, over here. So the organized basic set. One fun detail of this project is that we are using products from UGMonk, but we wanted to come up with kind of fake naming for everything, so we didn't compete with their SEO, because we were concerned that, you know, if we went to their website and used all of their actual product names, then people might mistake the Tailwind UI templates for the actual product, or as Tailwind UI gets traffic for the new e-commerce package, that we might compete with their actual e-commerce pages. So we're going to create basically, fictional names for all the products that are kind of just generic. So we're using their images, and we're definitely going to give them lots of shout outs for this partnership, but we didn't want to actually compete with their e-commerce side of things. So kind of a fun consideration. We have to come up with some fake names for products soon. So we have the organize basic set, and the price of this was $35. The rating, let's just say 4 for now. Review total was 18, and we're going to have our image source, which I'll stub out in just a second, and then the image alt as well. And I'm going to put a to-do in here, just in case we update these images, but we want to do a final pass before we publish the new components to make sure that all of our alt text semantically describes what you would find in the image. So ahead of time, I did publish these product images just so that way we didn't have to export them and crop them and everything. So let's see if we can get these wired up real quick. So e-commerce images, and this would be our category page 5, I think. Product, and then 01. Okay. I'm just taking a guess on this URL. It probably won't appear as expected just yet. So we're going to have, let's see, I think 8 products. 9 actually. Okay, interesting. Cool. So let's make sure we have 9 of these all stubbed out. So more duplication, and then that'll actually be all of our data taken care of. So then we'll move on to our semantic markup and then get right into styling, which will go pretty quick once everything's in place, I think. 6, 7, 8, 9. With projects like this, a lot of it is just trying to stay organized while working with a ton of content or a ton of code. So I try to do everything in a predictable sequence. That way I can mentally keep track of what we're working on. Otherwise, it's easy to just get kind of garbled up here. All right, so we have the organized pen holder and sticky note holder. Let's get those going. And let's see, 149, 15, and 15 for the prices. Oops, that's the review total. And we'll come back and change the review data in just a minute here. Let's make sure all of our URLs for these images line up. And let's see what we got. So we have the phone holder, the small tray. This is also 15. And small tray. And then let's see here. The organized set maple. Let's grab that. $149 for the price. Looking good. Almost done with our data here. Let's see. Out and about bottle. I don't know. I'm just making these names up today. So that one's 25. And next up we have our daily notebook refill pack. Refill pack, and let's see, then our keyring as well. So that was $14, and then leather keyring in black. And that was 32. Okay, cool. All right, so that should be all of our data. I'm gonna come back to clean up some of this so it has different ratings, different review totals, etc. And then I think these image URLs might work. Let me just double check that. I might have named them incorrectly when I uploaded them, so let me just check. It might be page 4. I might be off by 1. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go hunting for those. Let me open my sidebar here. Gonna collapse that down for a second. And let's see, e-commerce images, image card, that's why, and it's 4. Okay, so I'm gonna have to rename these, but I'll take care of that today after the stream. So just hitting Control or Command D to multi-select, and that way we get multiple cursors. Let's give that a save, and then let me just check one of these URLs real quick, and we'll get it displaying on the page in just a second here. Let me just make sure. Of course. What am I doing wrong here? Okay, I want, oh, image card, that's why. Wow, okay. We'll get past this. Cool. Let me just double check that one more time, and then let's get our markup and data on the page. Cool, okay, so those will appear now. And we can collapse down the stuff we don't need to see. So right now my font size is pretty large, but even with my normal font size outside of streaming, I use code folding a lot in these large templates for these page examples because it gets quite overwhelming. So for example, we have this mobile menu, which uses some of our headless UI components, and we'll get into some of the headless UI work that we'll be doing today as well. But we have some internal components that basically just generate the markup needed for the headless UI components. So I'm going to fold that down. That's our mobile menu. Our header, which is basically just our top navigation, I'm going to fold that as well. And then we have our footer here, which we won't work on. So we're just going to work on the main content today. All right, so first thing first in our design, we're going to have our hero section. And it's important to look at this responsive design because our menu is beneath the hero on smaller screens, and then on larger screens we pop it out to the side. So we're gonna have to think through that. Okay, so we're gonna have to think through some of the overall structure of the page real quick here. Yeah, we could build this as an aside and then have the products in a separate section. So we'll have our hero section, our navigational aside, and then our section for our products. Okay, so I'm just gonna stub out some comments real quick. So while we're hero, let's say menu, and then product grid real quick. So let's begin with our hero. First up, let's get our content here. These are, sorry for all the tabbing, new arrivals. And we're gonna have some paragraph text here. Cool. And then in our menu, I'm gonna put this in an aside region because it's supplemental to the main content. And for this, let's make sure we're looping over this. So this would be a form of nav. Basically, I'm going to put an ARIA label on this nav. Anytime you have repeated landmark regions, it's important to give them a distinct ARIA label so that way assistive technologies can differentiate between them. So if you look in our header, we have an ARIA label of top. So a screen reader user would hear something like navigation top. And if they're further down the page or listing out all of the landmarks, down here they would hear navigation menu. And so they know that it's a different context and it's a different navigation. If you just use a bunch of nav tags, then all that users would hear is navigation, navigation, navigation. So it's important to differentiate between them if you're going to repeat semantic regions, basically. Okay, cool. Real quick, let's just loop over. So this is post HTML, which we use for the templating that we have just inside of our own internal tools here. And then the output on Tailwind UI is just either raw HTML, a React template, or a Vue template. But this is what we need to actually do some of those transformations. So what we're looping over is the menu option in menu options. And the key here for React, we're going to pop in that ID. And let's actually put this inside of a UL. So that way users can hear how many items there are in this menu. And then let's keep binding some of this data. So you'll see some kind of proprietary syntax here. So we have our menu option.href, and then inside of here, our menu option.title. Cool. Let's just make sure that appears as expected. Yep. So you see a lot of unstyled markup coming through. So that would be our menu on smaller screens. We're going to have basically the same thing on larger screens, but without this collapse and expand UI that you see in the design. So on mobile and above, we can basically collapse these down. We're going to use the disclosure component from Headless UI to do that. And then on desktop, it's basically just a static list of those. Next up, let's just make sure all of our data appears as expected for the product grid. And then we're just going to switch over to styling, and we'll pretty much be able to focus on layout from there. So our product grid, this will be in a section. Again, with landmark regions, it's good to differentiate them for assistive technology. For sections in particular, it's good to point them to a heading. So we'll use ARIA labeled by to point them to that. So let's say this is the products heading. And then inside of here, it looks like this will be a hidden heading. So we'll use our screen reader only utility class. And then the ID needs to be products heading. And let's see here, missing an end quote. And this will simply just say products. So if we look at our page, nothing new has appeared, but if you were going to list off all of the regions of this page, you would hear that this section is products. So that helps you jump quickly to content in the page. All right, and then my scroll wheel is going crazy, so let's see here. So inside of here, we're going to loop over all of our products. So this will just be a container for our grid. And then inside of here, we're going to do another loop. So we have product and products. And let's see, just looking out for any questions. Is this React with the each? So the each is something called post HTML. And it's just it's a kind of light templating language that we use internally to generate our templates. And then the output on tailwindui.com is either raw HTML, React templates, or Vue templates. So we have to kind of come up with our own conventions in a way, since we're basically generating multiple forms of markup for people. Let's see here. All right, so our key is just our product ID. And then inside of here, we'll just have basically a card for each product. We're going to have an H3 because we started with an H2 here. And we'll only have a single H1 above. So our heading structure is making sense. This will be the product.title. And we had our image above that. So let's pop that open. This will be our product.image source. And our alt text, which we can also bind to our data. Right now it all has to do in there because we haven't written final alt text. Next up, let's see, we're going to have our rating. So this will basically be icons that are showing the stars, but for a screen reader user, it's important to communicate through text what the actual review is. So we're going to have some hidden text here. So we use SR only again, and we'll want to do some data binding here. So we have product.rating, and we'll say out of 5 stars. So that way there's context of what the rating is and what it's out of. And so again, this is hidden text, but when a user would be moving through this product, they would hear, oh, 4 out of 5 stars, if they're not able to visually see that there's, icons for all of that information. Next up, we have our review total. So let's say product.review total. And let's see here, reviews. And then lastly is the price. So product.price. And this is just a raw number right now, so I'm just going to put hardcode US dollars in front of that. All right, and then let's see if this comes up. I might have broken something in my template. No, it looks like it's okay. Maybe it didn't refresh fully. Let's see here. Oh, there they are. Cool. I didn't even see the images, so I blanked on that. We don't need inspector tools for the moment. So as you can see, everything's all in place as we'd expect it. We have our hidden text not appearing, which is what we want. And looks like all of our images are here. Okay, so now we're going to switch gears and just do a ton of styling, which will be really fun. So first thing first, let's just work top to bottom. And with page examples like this, I like to work responsively, mobile first, and then kind of get the responsive layout more or less complete for each major section. The only exception to that would be we have some higher level layout that we want to do responsively. So we got to move this sidebar over on larger screens and so forth. So we might do a little bit of jumping back and forth, but I try to work pretty linearly whenever possible. And It actually reminds me we have this breadcrumb navigation, which I totally spaced on. So I want to get that stubbed out as well. And that'll be pretty light in terms of data and styling. So I'm going to go back up to my data here. I have to go to the bottom of this navigation, which is a ton of content. So let's say we have our breadcrumbs. And again, this will just be a simple array of objects. So we have our title is home. And we'll need to know if it's current as well. So this will be false, because we have different styling if it's the current link or not. And then also for accessibility, we will be adding some attributes as well. And I think this was just says men for now, but this is new arrivals, so we can see that. Since our content is just kind of placeholder content for now. Cool. All right, so going back up in our header, we want to get that breadcrumb going. So earlier I mentioned when you repeat landmark tags, you basically want to label them distinctly. So this is going to have an ARIA label of breadcrumb. That way we actually know that it's separate from our top navigation and so forth. And then we'll do a simple loop again. So we're going to pop open our each. Emmet doesn't like that because it's not normal HTML. So let's just go manually. So each breadcrumb in breadcrumb. I don't want that capitalization, but oh well. Let's get rid of that. And again, we'll need our key one last time. Pop that open. Let's move our li inside of there. And we'll have an a tag, a little bit more data binding, and then we're going to get into styling. Cool. All right, make sure that appears. So we have home and new arrivals. Everything is unstyled, but it'll take shape in a second here. Cool. Everybody doing good? If you have questions, let me know. I can slow down. I can go back on anything. So let me know on that. It looks like our whole header is going to be this BG white. So I'm just going to move that up to here. And then if we look at our example here, we'll also have a shadow on it. And that way we can have a little more visual differentiation. So now you can see our breadcrumbs are appearing as expected. All right, so what we'll need on those is some left and right padding and a max width as well. And this is a really common pattern throughout Tailwind UI, so it should be quick to stub that out. And then we'll work on the actual styling of the breadcrumb links themselves. All right. So let's see, in here we can actually do a max width directly, I believe. Yeah, so let's just do MX Auto to center it. So max width of 7XL is our kind of widest container size that we want. Then we'll center it above that. It's going to have PX4 on the smallest screens. Then we'll bump it up to PX6 on small, and then large it goes up to PX8. So this kind of snippet of utility classes is super common in Tailwind UI. You'll see it kind of everywhere throughout. And it basically creates that responsive container that we're looking for. For consistency, I might put it in a container within the nav just to match our top navigation. And sometimes you might want a different background color on the breadcrumb to go full width, whereas the content is constrained inside. So this is kind of a pattern that we implement quite often. All right, let's make sure those are constrained as expected. Good. And then now we need those to have flex alignment. So we'll go flex item center, and then let's grab our spacing here that we want. So it looks like we'll have, yeah, PX2, or just, yeah, basically 2 units for 8 pixels on either side. And then in between them, it looks like we'll need our SVG icon. I think I have this similar breadcrumb treatment on another page, so I can probably grab some code from there as well if needed. So let's see here. We're going to want space X2 to space those out. We can style the links themselves. So we have text SM, font medium, and gray 7. And then what about if it's current? I think we need a different style for that. So I might have to modify that so there's distinct styling for the current one. I'd probably do gray 500 and then gray 700 on the current one, if not gray 900. So we'll kind of play around with that a bit. So we're actually going to have to add a condition inside of here to differentiate between the current link and the others. So let's say if, and the condition will be if breadcrumb.current is true, then what we'll want to do is, yeah, we'll actually have to do this in a condition separately. We can't really inline this because we actually have to change the markup. So let's see here. So if that's true, we want text SM, font medium, let's say text grade 9 as a guess for now. We're gonna have to kind of come back to this in a bit. And then we want ARIA current to be the page that we're on. So this basically tells assistive technology users that this particular link is the one that you're currently on. So that's why we have to kind of separate this markup out a bit. And then if they hover it, let's lighten that by 1 stop. So text gray 800. We're going to basically duplicate this and do an else block. Again, this is that post HTML templating. So it's not really standard HTML, but it's necessary for what we're doing. All right, not seeing any questions too much. Oh, are you digging Windows subsystem for Linux versus other types of development environments? I use Mac typically day to day for my work, but I have a Windows machine that I use for streaming and video work. So I like them both pretty equally. Definitely the WSL2 setup has been really stable, really consistent. I don't have to do any weird workarounds for certain dependencies that are a little bit more Linux or Mac oriented. File system, everything seems to work well. I have all my aliases, all my VS Code stuff seems to work. So yeah, I really been digging WSL when I'm on my Windows machine. Has been pretty nice setup actually. So let's see, let's just get this stubbed out here. So taking a look, all right. So we have our home link and then our current link right there. And then now we need to work on spacing and the SVG separator between them. So within this, let's see here. So yeah, the each and if tags are post HTML, and that's basically just a templating language that we're using in our templates internally, so that we can generate things like looping over arrays of data and doing conditional rendering. But at the end, the output is basically just raw HTML, or we have React and Vue templates as well. So this is kind of internal tooling, which is why you see that. All right. So another condition here is if it's not the first item in the array, then we need to show that SVG icon. So let's see here, what can we do to make this possible? First off, I'm going to grab that SVG code. Let me pop open my sidebar in Figma real quick. So it looks like this is just a text icon right now. I'm going to duplicate this so that I can actually put a frame around it. And then what we're going to do is outline the stroke of this. Yep, that's looking good. Let's just rename that to path. That's fine. Okay, cool. So this as an SVG now has the outer dimensions that we're looking for. I'm actually going to copy this as SVG. And then let's pop over to a website I use quite a bit, which is SVG OMG. We're going to paste that markup in. We want to prettify it. I can never say that word. Prettify it, I guess. Yeah, there we go. So now we have our SVG code ready to use. I'm going to make sure it renders real quick. Oops, looks like it copied too much that we don't want. All right, this SVG is purely decorative, so let's add ARIA hidden is true. So that way we hide it from assistive technology. And then I always like to have a view box on my SVGs, so 0, 0, 16, and 20 for the dimensions there. I'm going to take off this hard-coded fill, and then on the parent, we can actually set what text color it's going to be. So let me go back. So this would be cool gray 300, which in Tailwind UI is just alias to be normal gray. So we have text gray 300. And then this is going to look a little broken for a second because, yeah, so we don't really have our conditional rendering there going on. All right, let's see. It's looking good. So what we need to do basically is if condition, and this would be if it's not the loop.first, so if it's anything but the first item in this array, then we want to render out this SVG icon. And let's see, we'll also want to put a margin right of 2 pixels on it. And since we had to do this conditional split, if it's the current link, I think we'll have to duplicate this. There might be a better way of doing this, so I might refactor this if needed. Yeah, because there's a lot of duplication here. So first off, I'm going to move this li tag out because it's shared in both templates. And I can actually do the same. Yeah, I can actually do the same here. So that's a better way of doing it. So 1 second here while I get this adjusted. So we'll have a nested conditional just for the links themselves. Yeah, this should work much better. Okay, get this formatted. Let's pop these up into here. Okay, so now our logic is we're going to loop over a breadcrumb, and if it's not the first one, we'll render that icon on the side, and then we split based off if it's the current link. I think that'll work. Looks good. Obviously, we have to do some more layout here. So flex item center. That's looking better. And then our color isn't taking, I think, do I need to put it on the path itself? Or fill, yeah, fill is current color. I forgot, I need that for when we're inlining SVG. Cool, that's looking good. There's just some vertical spacing, and I think we're done with breadcrumbs. And we can move on to the main content. All right, so we have PY4 on the LI. It's looking good. All right, cool. So I think our breadcrumbs are in a good place. I'm missing a bottom border on the top nav. And then we can go from there. What is language? This is just mainly raw HTML. And then, as I mentioned before, post HTML for some templating stuff. Let's see here. Okay, cool. So our top navigation, we just need a border bottom. So we have our max width, and it'll need to be basically inside of that. So I'm actually gonna have to wrap these internal contents with a div, and then we'll say border bottom, border gray 200. Oh, and if I didn't mention, this is all Tailwind CSS, building out Tailwind UI components, so that may be helpful for your question there. Let's see. So let's grab everything inside of the nav. Pop that into our new div. Make sure our indentation's looking good. Cool. Oh, I broke one of the layouts. Let's see what's going on here. So let me fold up some of this code to help troubleshoot. We missed. We have to move these down now. That's why. Okay, cool. So let's make sure those are moved down so that the spacing of items is correct. And then we're missing our padding as well. Okay, how do we want to do this? We want to move the height down in addition. There we go. Okay, cool. A little bit of rework there. And this might actually be gray 100. So let's do that real quick. Gray 100. Cool. All right. I think our header and top navigation are all settled now. If we just do a quick responsive design check. So we have 1x, and then at the large breakpoint, everything looks good. Our flyout menus, overlay on top. I think that's, yeah, that makes sense. Contextually, those all came from the pre-existing code that we copied over. Cool. Let's move on to the hero section and some more fun styling here. All right, so hero section 48 on top and then 40 on bottom. Okay, cool. So just figuring out spacing for that. So let's see here. Our main page is actually going to be BG Gray 50. I forgot to put in the background color earlier. Yeah, okay, cool. And then let's see here. Sorry for all the tabbing. Just a lot of going back and forth to reference things. Okay, so basically we have a container. We're going to have an absolutely positioned background image, and then we will have this overlay with the content with a nice backdrop filter for the blur. So we can get all these ideas stubbed out here. First thing is that we're going to have a container for the text, and actually a container around that as well. I know this seems like numerous divs, but you'll see why in just a second here. So we'll have our image. I'm going to have to use a placeholder image for the moment because I didn't export this one, but we'll get to that in just a second. So on the outermost container, we'll want that pattern, that same pattern that you see quite often, where we have the max width 7XL, except for I think we restrain it, yeah, to 640 until we get to large. So this will actually be 2XL, and then we'll have our PX4, SMPX6, LGPX8, and then also on our large breakpoint, we want max width 7XL. That's looking good. Yep, that's constrained as expected. Okay, next up we have the actual kind of card, that floating card that we see. So let's see, does this have a shadow on it? Nope, no shadow needed, but we will need a border radius. And we need to put padding on our parent. So let's just start with padding top for now because we have that accordion menu that we need to figure out spacing with in just a second. Now on the actual card itself, we're going to have rounded LG. This will be overflow hidden. And this will actually need relative positioning because our image is going to be absolutely positioned. And we might go one step further. Yeah, I think I want to wrap this image in a div because we might have to do some aspect ratio work or basically absolutely position this container so that way our image can scale and kind of have a background cover effect to it. So let's see here. So our image, we're going to set inset x0. That way it'll always match the width of the container. Yep. And then we won't really see that take effect yet because we don't have a placeholder image. So let me grab that real quick. I'm just going to pull up something on the side here so that we don't have to clutter the screen with searching through some files. Cool. So we often use unsplashed images throughout Tailwind UI. In this particular package, as I mentioned, we're actually using images from UGMonk, so we're self-hosting those. But for when I'm stubbing out these pages, I reach for Unsplash's API so that way I can quickly get the image sizing working, and then I do my final image exports after that. So it's really helpful for prototyping as well. Looking at our design, it looks like we probably won't be much wider than 900. I'm going to go up to, let's say, 1,000 for the width. These are just query parameters for this placeholder image real quick. And then we don't have any height set on it. It looks like that's not even the placeholder image I actually used. So one second, let's grab one of those. Let's see here real quick. Yeah, here we go. All right, so the width, let's say width is going to be 1,000 pixels for this. We'll probably start these at 2x. Is my sound buggy? Yeah, let me know if the sound isn't coming through as expected. Happy to look into that for you. Kind of stuttering. Okay, good to know. If anybody else has that issue, let me know, and I can definitely look into it. Okay, so for our overall card, we want some specific sizing to happen. It's 384, I think at most sizes. Okay, cool. So what's nice about that is it's within the Tailwind CSS scale, so we can actually hard code that height into our card itself. So height, hear the same stir. Okay, one second here. Okay, cool. Let me check out my audio real quick. All right, any better now? If not, then I can take a look further. Let me look into it real quick. See what I can do. All right, is this any better? Hopefully this comes through. If not, I'll think of a backup mic situation here. Okay, not seeing if this is better or not, so I'm gonna keep working for a bit. Hopefully you can hear me though. All right, so just checking on things here. All right, let's see here. Oh no, I don't know what's going on then. I tried a different USB input and everything. Let's see. Let me try one more. I don't know if my audio interface is acting up or what, but hopefully we can figure this out. Let's see. Okay, let me troubleshoot a little bit here. Be right back. Let's see. Hopefully this is better now. If not, then I'm at a bit of a loss, and I apologize. Haven't had audio issues before, so trying different cables and things, but let's see. Yeah, it seems like it's still stuttering, so Oh man, I might have to wrap for today on the stream then, unfortunately, as soon as we just got into styling. Um, Trying to think. Yeah, it's probably too annoying to put you through this, which is a huge bummer. I'm trying to figure out if I can do an alternate. Let me see if I can get an old webcam mic going then. Let's do that real quick. Okay, switched over to an old webcam mic. Hopefully this doesn't sound too terrible. Is this better? Or would you prefer I go back to a little bit stuttery microphone? Um, so I feel bad. I want to get into some styling here that y'all can just see. Let's see here. Still stuttering. Oh man. Okay. Well, in that case, I don't know if OBS is giving me troubles in, but I might have to call it for today on the stream. What I'll do is it seemed like it appeared partway through, so I'll do some troubleshooting and then hopefully pick up with the stream again soon. Yeah, Adam, I don't know if I don't think it's latency because I'm on Ethernet with good bandwidth and everything, but I'm not sure. So, well, apologize, but I'm gonna have to wrap for today due to technical issues. Yeah, okay, let me try restarting stream. Be right back. All right, let's see if this is any better. Otherwise, we'll see. No. Okay. Well, thanks for hanging out with me while I'm troubleshooting. Sorry to cut this short. Right as we got into the fun stuff, but I'll definitely be back. So, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being patient. We just got an image on the screen, but we'll have to come back to this, and I'll definitely get a more stable setup for next time. So, um, cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody, and my apologies. I'll definitely be back soon, and hope you have a great day. I'll take care. See ya.